All right, Richard. So, question number one: does a winner wear a crown, and how do you spot one?
Okay. Doesn't want to wear a crown. For me, the answer would be, in the case of change managers, yes, but it's sometimes only the paper party crown that you get out of a Christmas cracker. The reason I say that is that the best change managers, in my view, is that they're the people who help change to become business as usual. So the people implementing the change need to feel like they're the real winners. They need to be saying, we've done it, not the change manager did it, or the sponsor did it, or senior managers did it, but it's ours, we did it. And if you follow that line of reasoning, then the real winners in change management terms, you need to notice the people who've helped the people making the change happen, to give their sustained support to the transitions, and that the transition's been smooth. Now, the winners in change management terms are the ones where there's no drama. I've sometimes said it's a bit like measuring the success of a fire prevention officer. How do you do that? Well, you count the fires that don't happen. Well, and it's just as difficult looking for the real winners, the successors in change management. So I'd say look for the things that have changed without drama, the people who've quietly got on and helped those things to happen. And if you celebrate and recognize those people, not the ones who've awarded themselves the crown, the bling, then you've probably put the crowns on the right people. Does that make any sense, Margo?
Oh, it makes a lot of sense, and it's really humble, and I really love it because I actually agree with you. I think most of the change management professionals, when they come to help organization to get to where the organization wants to get to, really, they do it through the people who are part of the organization rather than just themselves, showcasing what's the best, what's the best practice and all that. It's just about the people within the organization rather than the change management themselves.
Yeah,
Um,
I would totally support that.
so that brings me to another question. Hopefully, a nice segue to it. Why do you support the Change Awards? Obviously, you are our head judge for the Change Awards 2024, and hopefully many years to come. But so there must be something in it. But how does that relate to that crown that we have just spoken about?
Look, it's a real privilege, first of all, Margo, that you invited me to take on that role. I mean, I think that the Change Awards is a fantastic initiative. I loved it when you talked about it before the first year's Change Awards, and I still love it. I see lots of really hardworking change professionals doing great work, supporting change initiatives, and often really not being recognised, in their organisations at least. And the Change Awards is an opportunity for fellow professionals to acknowledge and big up, reward, recognise the phenomenal work that people do. And it's a community where people understand how difficult it is to do well the things that don't always get the headlines. So, I mean, for me, in my role as head judge, I really want to help all the category judges, support them in making the really difficult decisions they're going to have to make. Sometimes really quite fine value judgments on, yeah, these are all fantastic initiatives that people have taken and supported and helped through. How do you judge amongst them? Well, I guess my job is to try and help the category judges to make wise decisions based on, good solid foundations. But in the end, it's about recognizing and highlighting the superb work that lots of change professionals are doing day in, day out.
Mm. But there is something about the change management profession itself, and I've done this little very mini survey on LinkedIn when I've asked 3 questions, and I purposely used the language in one of the questions when I said, do you think you're good enough? Can you apply? Will you apply for the Change Awards, or do you think you're not good enough? And 15% of people that have participated in that survey, they said, well, I don't think I'm good enough to apply for the Change Award. And that makes me think, what can we say to those people? How can we encourage them to actually apply? Because does it mean that everybody needs to be a superhero, or is the Change Award for our colleagues and peers who truly tremendously do a lot of good in organizational change?
Yeah. Look, I think we can all be vulnerable to imposter syndrome, and to undervalue, but to undervalue what we are actually doing. It's a bit of a balance, really. I'd hate for people to get all self-congratulatory and say, look at me, I've made all this happen. But I'd encourage that people look at the successful shifts they've helped their organizations to make, especially where things have been complex or there are old methods and cultures quite deeply embedded. And if you've been involved in a change of that sort, smoothing the way, helping it to happen, helping people to get on side, supporting those who've been leading it, but also getting alongside the people who've got to make it really work on the ground, then I'd say take a deep breath and apply. The application process isn't that tough. And I think the other thing I'd say is whether or not you finally win an award category, you'll be in such great company that there is no shame in being there. And at the awards ceremony, you'll be joining a community of people who are an absolutely superb group to be part of. So I just encourage people not to downtrade or feel like an imposter with what they do, but to value the contribution that they bring to organization change. And yeah, put yourself out there, have a go.
Really nice words, actually, because it just makes me think that everybody really is a winner, even if you haven't
Absolutely.
won. By participating,
That's spot on,
you are
Mark.
already
It really is. I mean, everybody who has the courage to apply is a winner. They wouldn't be applying if so. You know, it's going to be tough for the judges, but just to be part of that community, I think, is great.
All right, another question. In 30 seconds, Richard, what is the future of change management?
Does my time start now?
Yeah.
Okay. I think there's bad news and good news. The bad news first. I fear that there is going to be a lot of relabeling, reframing, reinventing done by lots of commercial organizations jockeying for position in what I think is a developing space. And I personally don't find that helpful, though I really understand it from a commercial point of view. I think the future of good change management is true professionals sticking to the hard work of keeping close to people at all levels who have to make the change work, but also keeping their eye on the direction of the change and the next destination. I've sometimes compared change managers in the animal kingdom to giraffes. You really need your feet on the ground, but also to be able to get your head up and look around and see both where you're going and the other stuff that's going on around you, so that you can help the people you're in touch with on the ground navigate. Was that 30 seconds?
It's probably, I don't know, I'm not counting, but But it's good. I mean, I love the answer, especially that it's quite complex in the change management world these days. Like you said, I've also haven't been really a giraffe, but I've spotted some complexities myself. So
Yeah.
I think I relate. All right. And the final question then. What are the key talents change managers need to develop for the coming years?
Okay, I'll give you two that I think are significant. Sorry, others will obviously have their own checklist. And I think collaboration in change is an increasingly important issue. So a key talent will be facilitating collaborative change processes. Look, as I see this around, it's often labeled co-design or co-production or something like that. And it follows from the fact that there are fewer layers in organizations, hierarchy has been reduced, and therefore people have more agency in making change happen or in slowing it down. Over the last year or a bit more, I've been working with a very small group of professionals to try and develop some principles and practices that you could identify as collaboration in change. We've coined the term co-change to get past the idea of co-design or co-production, which seem to me to speak to particular parts of the change cycle. And we've been trying to identify ways of spotting good collaboration throughout the change cycle, end to end, hence collaborative change or co-change. And I'm hoping that in the next very few months, we'll be able to at least publish a first take of some of the practices and principles that are relevant to collaborative change. For me, that the important thing here is that change professionals are able to work with and facilitate collaborative processes. So that's one talent, since you asked for it. Sorry, do you want to comment on that? Come back to me. Yeah.
Well, a quick comment is that I would love to be able to, if there is something tangible that as an output that is being produced from that collaboration on that subject, I would love to be able to share it with the change awards community, because I think these people would be very much keen to have a look. I think that the change awards community these days is a community of individuals who are really keen on progressing within the change management profession. So any such finding would be fantastic for us.
Okay, well, I'm really happy with that, Margo. It's not something that we've dubbed ourselves the Co-Change Collective. It's essentially a peer group of professionals who've been trying to explore how you would recognize collaborative change. And that can be particularly important in the public sector and in the third sector, where funding may depend on evidence of good collaboration or co-design or something else. And that's a problem both for funders, how do we recognize it, how could we set criteria, and for third sector organizations or public sector organizations who want to be seen to collaborate, but how would they evidence it? So that's what set us off down that road, but it's relevant to commercial organizations too. Yeah, so yeah, we'll happily share it. It's not something we're trying to keep under wraps. It's something we hope will be useful in the wider change management space.
Fantastic. Okay, so the second part. So you said two key talents. What is the second talent? So collaboration is one. So co-collaboration.
Facilitating collaborative change. Yeah, sure. The second for me would be building trust. Now, that's always been an issue. I guess most of the changes where I've had a measure of success have been because people felt able to trust me. That means they've meant they felt not only that I meant well in general terms, but that I meant well specifically for them, and that I would act in ways that helped their voice to be heard and to the greatest possible extent would protect their interests. And I guess I see a thread out there in the literature and management literature, as well as in other sectors, on how trust can be developed and how it can be lost. And I just think that over the coming years, in quite a turbulent environment, the best change managers will be those who are most talented at building trust at all levels. So understanding and applying that literature, I think that's a key talent.
Not an easy task in
No,
front of the change profession, said by Richard, but I think it's all achievable, hopefully.
if it was easy, Margo, it wouldn't be fun, would it?
That is so true. That is so true.